drill, turn up the mic. Got it. All right. So this is where we left off with we got our orthographic view done, the line work all done for this shaft support. Yeah. So maybe what I did, I can't remember how I ended the video, but maybe I pulled my center lines just a little bit different. I think I ended up using top view. I ended up using center marks that were really driven by this arc as being the what I chose to kind of center mark was that arc. So gave myself a larger arc. I liked that. I did that on both sides, and I pulled them together at the middle to kind of show this horizontal alignment through part. Even kind of pulls through the upper shaft support itself, right? It's like that's in like alignment. And then I added this center line, and it's mostly going to come into play for dimensioning purposes, but it's this it helps me establish that this part is centered over itself in a way, right? Because I view this as three different parts. And so I wanted to establish I want to lock in the stuff that's a bit more ambiguous from the isometric view of this, right? Like I identified in this similar issues that I had with the bearing base part, and that I can infer that these things are all centered up clean, like equally, that the cylindrical part here is equally spaced, how it sits onto this little saddle holder, this little spacer here. I'm assuming that they are, the way I drew them, I said, I told you in that video, like, yeah, they are centered over it, even though they're ambiguous from this. And so I'm gonna lock in that relationship with dimensions and lock in that this is perfectly centered up with this support. And then that all is perfectly lined up with over the center of the lower base plate part. So I view this as three different parts, and I just generally need to lock down their location so that that can't be misinterpreted. That actually this cylinder is offset to on this plate maybe by a small number or a large. Like if it's a large number, then I can visually see that they're not centered. But if it's just a small number where a little bit makes a big difference, and I have to then the location dimensions become super critical. And that's why I even lock them down, even if it looks like it's centered. Like let's just put a dimension there and leave, and then get rid of that doubt. And in the same way, actually, if I look along this plane, making sure that this is centered up in the other direction as well. So I just have that to think of when I'm dimensioning it. And that's what I'm ready to do is start dimensioning this thing. So I'm gonna kind of go through my methods here of start with some overall part uh, heights, widths, and depths. And then, decide where to dimension maybe some rounds. Look for those rectangular views, and probably the holes need to be like size located where they appear as a round circle. So and then I might come back and just start to lock in those locations of that stuff. So let's do this. I feel like this one gets pretty heavily saturated with dimensions when I'm really trying to locate stuff and lock it down into position. So there'll be additions to this. There'll be additions probably to the dimensions that I see here. So I know I'm always looking to at least grab these, although sometimes when I even grab these dimensions, I may change them to the proper dimensioning. What I mean by that is this 46-inch diameter is probably not going to be a leader line call out. It's probably going to be dimensioned in its rectangular view. And I'm just going to watch for little things like that. And maybe pick the best place. There's a lot of radiuses going on, so I'm definitely going to have some, you know, dimension radiuses that I have to figure out where is the best view to put them in. And I kind of add those in later, and so they don't conflict with my linear dimensioning that I do first. So let's do that. So maybe I'll start with this front view. So yeah, I have my sheets up, maybe pull that over to my other screen so I can see. And I think like with some experience, oh, I think I pulled this center line together too. So I think I have that center line overlapping with this one. It's arguable that I could probably eliminate one. Like I could probably say, well, technically I'm going to show that these are overlapping. So this one I could probably pull to here and just keep the center mark doing all the work for the part. Shows that kind of that vertical height alignment that's going on. And it might be a good place to dimension some of that. In fact, I think I probably will dimension, some of that so I know that so I can lock down some of the location. But let's look at overalls first. I think I chose to do my overalls Not here, although I think okay. So definitely as I dimensioned this, I slapped dimensions on, and then I found that as I've if I, as I have experimented with this part, I found myself doing a lot of refinement with which view accepted which dimension. So I'm gonna slap these on here like I know what I'm doing, but that's because it took quite a bit of like correction, and that can be pretty normal in that I determined that some places that I initially slapped a dimension didn't turn out to be the best place, and I started to get excessive crowding. And really, where I noticed the crowding happening was because of the dimensioning I need to lock down some of the different features that I'm seeing here in the top view. Like I like to lock down some of the whole location dimensions here. Maybe maybe pretty much my whole locations I did lock down in this top view, and then I started locking down some of the along the x-axis here, the location for the saddle, little hold-up plate, and the actual support shaft cylinder that's on top. Like I ended up using my center line that I snapped in here, and I kind of did that strategically. I used that center line to carry the dimensioning for some of the where those are placed. So what I ended up with is maybe I kind of broke away from knowing which dimensions were best on the front view, because the front view maybe it carries some dimensions. Like I do feel like one dimension it's going to carry is this diameter. So I'm going to pick a diameter here. I'm going to jump over to a sheet though. Let's do that. So let's get out of this command and let's get into a sheet and into a viewport to do this so I don't mess this up. Let's click into my viewport. Now let's add some dimensions here. Love it. And maybe I need to turn on my grid there in my viewport, but so where I wanted to start, maybe in the front view, is it definitely is the best place for the overall the OD or the outside diameter of this cylindrical feature. Like I could point here with a leader line, but for the outer diameter, this is maybe the better, and it's in a linear dimension, so I don't need to pick diameter. I need to pick a linear dimension here. And this 46 diameter is what goes on here, and I'm gonna space this away. We're in a metric template. That's what I have to remember is that the spacing isn't 0.375 because that would be 0.375 of 1 millimeter. We actually need 10 millimeters. That's the equivalent of 0.375 or roughly. So I'm gonna enter 10 millimeters here, and that's the spacing that this should have away. Now, the problem with this is I'm crowding it already a little bit, and I also need to add the diameter symbol here. So I'm going to click into the dimension and pick up that diameter symbol there. And then I even additionally crowd that. So I think I ended up having to move this a little bit, staggered a bit, and maybe pull it away ever so slightly. There it is. I think I left that one there. I did. I mean, I was tempted to get the overall. I think originally I probably took the overall height here because really I like to do overalls better. I should go back to my own 2 cents, and I should do these overalls. And so maybe I'll do a little bit of stuff that needs moved later. But if I was to grab the overall and I wanted to put it in between views, it might be like this. Like I might think that that's an overall size, and then this one's an overall size here. I put it in over here, and what ended up happening, and I think this is okay. And then I started to, so that's my overall there. Then I would come over here and I don't need the 144 here, but I definitely need the overall the other direction. And I had to just debate on, is it better here or is it better here? And I think ultimately I decided I was going to put it down here. Um, and it's just because I have more location dimensions with the other features than I do the overall here. So if I think originally I did snap the overall in here that was missing, and I ended up moving it over here. So I'm going to actually put the overall in over here. But it could be this is not the only arrangement of dimensions I could do, is what I'm saying. This is a way. And in fact, I started to get some crisscrossing going on here, which is okay. I just got sometimes I do that break to break between them, and there is some of the crisscrossing that goes on here. But that kind of like captures my, height, width, and depth, those overall part sizes. And then I started looking at like the features, the fine features, and this is where I chose to put the diameter. I also chose to put the width of this here. And I could have put it here, like I could grab the width of the little saddle right here. Uh, but I ended up grabbing the overall width here on these two uprights here. And it definitely becomes like an intermediate dimension. It's really the smallest dimension I'm going to grab here. So I think I spaced this one off the 10 millimeter that I need. And that puts this one getting a little bit higher yet because there's another dimension I want. I want that 40 millimeter, the length of the rectangular or the cylinder here. So I ended up using this. as a place to grab that. And yeah, I get a little crisscross on that, but I left that like that. And these are definitely going to get spaced a quarter inch away. So I chose this one, sorry, this one as my base, and then this one as my secondary here. And why I didn't grab that is because you're going to find I'm going to move that dimension. I'm going to pull quite a few more dimensions this way for locations. So I'm thinking of this little cylinder part and maybe even this part and kind of working together. And I definitely have size starting, like I have the size of the cylinder part. It's 46 by 40. That's great. It has an inner bore that I can't dimension here, so maybe the size is going to end up on the right side view where it appears as a circle. I'm gonna come back to that one here, but I've got definitely like size, and even I've got size here. I don't have the other direction size. That could be here, so I might consider that and say, okay, the size of this is 67 and pull it out like that. So now what I kind of feel like I have is the size of the cylinder, at least the external parts of it, and I have the size of the little saddle bracket. Here it is 18 millimeter wide by 67 at its longest point down there on the base. But what I need is to lock in their locations so that I know that I'm truly centered over the base plate, or that the part is symmetrically and centered, looking down on it like it looks. Like I can infer that it looks symmetrical, but let's dimension it so that it is, and not just reply. And I'm not relying on just somebody's interpretation that it looks symmetrical. Let's go with it. Like let's lock it down. So there's some verifiable dimensions to verify that it is centered. So what I need is maybe a point to where it to over to where that one is, and maybe over to where that one is. And there's a lot. And so originally I think I pulled some dimensions right here. I thought, well, I'm kind of establishing a little bit of a datum here. I've got 144 that pulls from this edge, which is really that very apex point here. I mean, this is going to be kind of a harder part to, if it was really a critical part that was going to be inspected by an inspector, and they put them in a fixture and jig and then start finally checking it. This could prevent. I mean, just the radius nature of the base could be hard to pinpoint, and pulling a dimension from there, like using this as a datum, the very like is maybe there's a better datum to choose, and so what I thought of choosing was maybe the center of part for locating, and that's why. And this center line is a great place to call a safe, nice place to pull dimensions from to these other features. So instead of like pulling from the edge to locate these, which wouldn't necessarily be wrong, but maybe that's in the good category, a better practice would be maybe pulling from the center line of this part. And so I chose, instead of doing the locating down here to like where this is from the edge here, and then from here to here, it would be a legit dimension. We might just run and go and do that. I kind of figure with just a little bit more experience, I would think that this is my better datum than that little, this you think this is a surface, but it's really a radius surface. And so it's not, this is more informational on the width, but maybe it's not the best. It's a hard, anyway, this is a much easier datum to establish the center line of the whole part, the whole base part. So I used this to pull these dimensions, like a location. Like I already got that the width is 18. What I want to know is maybe how far the edge of it is from some source, which I keep calling datums, right? These are datums that I'm establishing. So I'm pulling this from a center line kind of datum, center of part datum, and I'm saying, hey, I need this to be like 9 millimeters. And then of course it's 18. So it's like it's going to be 9 millimeters from the center, and the whole part is 18. It locks in that, at least in the X direction, it locks in the location. And I can maybe I'll pull this. Doesn't really matter. I don't know where my which is going to be the best place to um, put my number, but I probably would pull this back to 10 millimeter from here. It's definitely a really small. I don't think I'm getting any other smaller dimensions there. The other thing I need to know is maybe in relation to that center line to this surface here. Like we're assuming that it's centered. Well, let's just like do the same dimension in the same area, really. So now I'm kind of locating. I've got the size of the cylinder, at least its external features here. Let's do a location of it. So the location to me is going to be from the center line and out to here. And then I'm going to pull this down. And so this is kind of pulling from the same datum too as the last one was. So there's a location now. There's size. Here's location. And here is size, the two dimensions here. size, and location. Now I still maybe need to locate it this way, and so there will be some kind of y-axis locating going on. Yeah, I think so. Let's see. I like that position. I just want to double check that I see. I'm gonna adjust the extension line. I needed to pull it there, but it really should go there to that object edge. That's the legit there. So I like this. The 20 is I'm gonna pull it also back to this edge here. So then the center line's doing all the reaching. Okay. And does it matter where? Well, this is kind of staggered, so I kind of like this. Like this is going to end up being the base here, right? And this is going to be the secondary one, and we're going to put them at a quarter inch away. So that's they're staggered. Severe, that's good. Now, and so I feel like I've kind of got locations in one direction. Let's do locations in the other direction. I think I've really got I've got a size that kind of functions somewhat like a location. And if I think I've got a center line of part here, so I think what I did is I pulled one dimension uh from center line here, kind of thinking center of part, um, to this point here. So I slapped in this dimension as a locating dimension. So let's see, and then I pull this back to the object edge. And in this point, that is the object edge that I wanted to reference. So, and then the center line's reaching out and grabbing me. But this is, I didn't really place this 10 millimeters away, so maybe I will. Just come into about here and space it over 10. So this is, I think about this as a location to from center of part out to this part's edge here. And that might be the locating that I'm going, that'll lock in the location for this little saddle piece that's holding up that. I got two locating dimensions and I've got a size. And the other, oh, this is a locating, yeah, two locating, technically I've got like three locating dimensions, or sorry, just two, 9 and 3.5 are locating dimensions for this saddle part. And there's the size. For the cylinder, I've got one locating dimension and two size dimensions here. And then I would need maybe one more locating dimension from center or something. And I think I'm going to put that over here, actually. I think I decided I was getting a little bit busy, and I think I put the other location for this in relation to this. And this is arguable that I'm also working off a radius datum here if I'm pulling from here. And so I'm kind of breaking the rule that I just established over here that I'm going to use this as a datum. And so I feel like I'm going to get to a point of all my dimensions are there, and then it might take a revision process to truly decide which was the best datum to use. And that might come during a prototyping of a part sometimes, and we can decide how we're going to evaluate this part for consistency if it requires such a strict hold. Um, Sometimes things aren't as strict, and wherever I pulled my datums really didn't matter because the part functioned either way. So I'm kind of I always kind of try to talk towards a real critical hold because that's the nature of mechanical parts. Generally, my stuff is critically held in some industries and pretty lazy in others. So I'd hate to always just be the lazy industry person and not be ready to be very critical. It's always easier to go the other direction. Perform with a high degree of criticality and think critically of what's going on and what could possibly be not located great. And then it's easier to dial back in industries where I don't have to hold such a strict thing because maybe it's more of a production based thing than it is and our inspection criteria is different. Then so anyway, yeah, I as an instructor have to kind of balance that. And I make mistakes while I do it for sure. So here's long story short, I'm going to pull this to this, and this is like 40. This is kind of a location dimension that I'm kind of locating and saying, hey, this is 80 across. From center of my part is 40, which means it is centered over the part. So it kind of functions as it kind of locates a lot of stuff here, actually. But I'm definitely using it more thinking of this cylindrical part, the cylinder part, and locating it in relation to some, into an X and Y axis. And in particular here, this is kind of functioning as my it's kind of functioning as an x-axis view here, just because I'm on the x. This is a dimension that is parallel with the x-axis. But yeah, okay. Let's just move on and get this thing located down here, probably, but then up probably 10 millimeters like that. That's good. I still haven't brought this in, and I just need to make sure that yeah, that's good on my extension lines. They're going right. So with that, I know it's taken me all three views to kind of lock down size and location for that, but I have done it. And so that's not the end of the world. I just make my viewer have to do a little bit of panning around to see like, is it symmetrical? Yes, it is. Sometimes just my line types and symbols help identify that quicker than the dimensions do. But then at least they can always go back and check like, is it centered? Oh yeah, it's 40 there. Oh yeah, yeah, it's over here. It's 20 off the center line here. So oh yeah, yeah, I'm centered. Okay. It's like this back check a little bit that it's there. What else we got? Well, I may have started to space things a little bit too, um, but so let me work back around and now think of some other things that need located and sized. What I've got is I feel good to move on to these from these features. I feel like I've sized them and located them. Let's move on to the holes maybe in the top view. I'm not going to locate them down here. I haven't even sized them yet. So let's size the holes, and it's definitely going to be the best view to size these holes up here. And I think I chose to get them out of this area. So I'm going to do a diameter. And instead of snapping here, I think I could have fit some, but I've got other sizes that need to go on here too. This is the best place to size all of the radius features, not just the hole. So the hole needs size. And I think I chose to put it over here, just kind of out of the way. I've got two of them, and maybe I put this one. What I'm also going to size is this radius probably over here, and then somewhere size this radius. I'm probably just going to size them in one place and say there's two of them. So I'm going to say I'm going to also do these are supposed to be at 45 degrees pointing towards center as well. I'm just going to drop this one strategically low for a minute. And then I'm going to say there's two of these though. So like I need two quantity, two times capitals, please. 2x space, thanks. Just one space. 2x of diameter 15 holes. So that one's that. They're in a nice location straight through here. Um, Really the location is anyway. Yeah, we'll think. That's the size of that hole. Good. What's its location? Well, let's look. It needs kind of an X and Y axis location. Well, it's on center here, so I can almost use my center line as axis here for and maybe I just need a an X axis location. So I think I'm going to pull one more dimension in this bundle here from center to center of hole. So I think what I decided is call the center line through the part the kind of in the Y direction, that horizontal direction, or I should say, uh, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't really need to locate, I guess, a dimension in the Y direction because my center of holes show to be center of part with that center line. So that kind of that implies holes centered that way. And let's decide that this is going to decide hole center location this way, right? Down this way, 50. That means from center part this way, it's 50, at least to that hole. I can't assume that it means the other one. I could put times two, but I think what I'm going to do is what is a little bit more common. And I'm going to go a 50 and then 100. So or sorry, I'm going to go to one hole and then I'm going to do center to center of hole because it's really common when I have a hole pattern like this or rectangular or round hole patterns. I really like to know the center to center distance of holes. I guess I would think of rectangular patterned holes with columns and rows of holes, like um, hole to hole centers tend to be a very critical hold. There's a reason why they're that far apart. They're matching something else. There's a bolt going down through it. So it is a really common to have hole to hole dimensions on your drawing. And I'm going to add that here. So it's going to be hole to hole, center to center dimension on my drawing, and it ends up being 100. And it doesn't, so that way I lock them in. Now I've located both holes kind of vertically because they're on a center line this way and horizontally with these two dimensions. And now I start to get into a problem where I'm getting a little bit close. And I think, well, I might be able to fit them because what I haven't spaced out is this one to this one could be a quarter inch like that. Yeah. I just start to get a little close here. And then I haven't decided if I've spaced all these correct yet either. So I think I can just use I know we've spaced the 20 and the 9, so I'm going to use that as my base and say this one to this and this one I want to auto. They actually push it away even a little further. So I'm even crowding 144 just a little bit more. Just the way these have built out and I've staggered them, or they've actually almost landed staggered pretty well. I might even further stagger that one. 9, 20, 50, 100. And I get a little bit of overcrossing, but only in a couple places of crossing pattern of extension lines. That's, I mean, this is going okay. I just need to check that I've been pulled back to the right place, which I haven't. This extension line needs to be pulled back to the object edge. And I think the center line is already pretty much pulled out there anyway. Yeah, is that the only one? Oh, the 100 I also pulled. I was like, why did that not look like a center line now? It's because the 100, I sometimes will just highlight it. That way I only get that one grip and then out to there. Now I start to see that that's a better configuration there. And the same thing probably needs to be on this side. My extension line's overlapping my center line. So let's get that off of there. Good, good, good. There's times when it can, like here, right? The extension lines can get to the object edge because they need to reach across other visible line. And that's okay. This is allowed. I just try to just pay attention to what is the point that you're actually grabbing. And sometimes they reach across and sometimes they don't. Uh, so this is good. I feel like I'm happy with my whole locations now. I get further I get further alignment here where I don't see two different holes off centered. I feel like I've got hidden lines of holes because they're in line with each other, right? Every view is a 3D view. So I also get some more just interpretation that those holes are lined up, even though they don't have a dimension up there. So yeah, I think that's a, and then I think that's pretty close. Oh, I just need the radiuses. I kind of bailed on the last thing I need to do is do the size of the radiuses. So let's do that. I'm going to pull my radius dimension out, and I need to do the outer one. So it's going to kind of share the same. That kind of shows that they are sharing the same concentric, the radius to the diameter. And maybe I'll stagger them, but I need to add two of these. So there's two of these radiuses on the edge, 2x, 2 times a radius of 22. That way I don't have to bundle it over here. And then I think I added, rather than adding the other radius in here with the congestion that I've got going on, I think I just pulled this as my other radius or a place to put this dimension here for the outer radius. And I just kind of looked at where how it was gonna. It seems like metric is default formatted to do this. And I just leave it like this. That this is the way. I think on the inch one, it'll mostly have the arrowhead right to the edge, but this one likes to reference the center. It's okay. I'm just going to leave it and call this 2x as this as well. So there's 2 times of these, one across on the other side. This is the back side one. Front side one is here. So I've got 2x those. I could adjust these. That looks pretty good. Yeah, this looks okay, other than just doing another baseline spacing here and then potentially just pulling that just a little bit more staggered off the center line. Good. Yeah, and those were all placed good. I've just got some congestion here, so I think. Oh, and I've got a little bit of overlap here. So this is okay. Like this is a fine detail, but we do have that nice breakaway. I've technically I've got 2 dimensions going across this one, and so it wouldn't matter which ones I break. It's just that I may have to break 2 times to get it to quit crossing here because the 50 and the 100 are crossing this dimension, and which one? The 20 is crossing it here. So I don't really care which one gets broke necessarily. Maybe I'll break this one around that. And then maybe I've got to break it again, break that one around this. I don't know, this could be a little tricky to get the right when I've got 2 that are overlapping. And I think the first one I pick is going to be the one. Oh, I've got 2 dimensions that way. This is what makes this a little bit hard to break, is I've got 2 dimensions overlapping their extension lines and 2 dimensions overlapping their extension lines. This gets to be a little bit annoying to know which one I'm breaking. So I don't know which ones I broke already. So yeah, there, I finally got it with the right selection. I kept selecting these ones first and then this one second, and finally it broke. I think this one will be a little bit, that can be frustrating. And if you get frustrated, just leave it. You'll get better. I mean, if you keep working at it, you'll get better at that. But even I sometimes bail on it if it's taking me too long because it's a small, fine detail. I think I'm going to break that away like that. Do I end up having 2 there? Well, I just have 2 other, I see what I mean. Got the same problem where I don't know which one I selected, this one and this one. Now let me select them again. Maybe it's this one that I haven't broke yet, right? And this one. Yeah, that's it. Just keep clicking away, you'll get it. That's just a small detail. Breaks those across. I think we set that break distance as part of our dimension style. I don't think I find it in ASME. Maybe I would if I really paid attention to the fine print, but okay, that's pretty clean. The only thing I don't love is maybe some crowding between dimensions. It's a pretty good dimension stack I've going on here. So I think I just elected to move this one like to the bottom just to get a little more clarification. It tends to like clean that up pretty good. And then I need to change the extensions to be at this side of the object rather than the top side. I chose to do this only because of the crowding that was going on, and because this had such like big extension lines coming all the way up. So I just thought, well, this is for clarity's sake. Not it breaks the rule a bit, but it's like it's a clearer overall, and maybe it's not the most useful dimension anyway. Some of these are more are better in locating dimensions, so I kind of just prioritized those being there versus this one and got it out of the way. So that was just a spot selection that I made. I still am lacking maybe the size of the base part. I know we've addressed size and location for this and of holes and of radiuses now. So I just need to analyze what else needs sized and located. Well, the thickness of the plate does here, the base plate. I've definitely got the overall size, 80 by 144. But what is the thickness? I think it's missing. So I need to add it here. It was 18 millimeters, like this. And then I think I space this away 10, maybe. Yeah, like that. I got a little bit of crossing going on here. So I think this is, I could pull this away. I could move the 18 so it goes the other direction. I think I just decided since I had either option here and I have like long extensions, I don't know. I think I decided to move this one and I actually removed it from my view and came over here and added it here. So I liked the 99. I need it. I just felt like it was maybe a little cleaner over here. And it also kind of worked in conjunction with the overall hole spacing here. So and I guess I chose to pull from here to the center rather than the dimension that was given in this document, right? Has maybe a 58 dimension right here. Um, I think I chose to instead of pull from like a top surface datum to there, I chose to use the bottom surface as my datum to there. So I actually changed. I felt like this wasn't the best dimension to use. Like it would be like 18 and then it would be from here up 58. So I think I chose a better dimension was use the overall datum. So what I'm saying is the overall datum, the base datum in this view, which is that, and it's 76. So I chose this rather than the 58. And they both share the same, where they're pulling from the same base here. And then I use this, I think, as my intermediate dimension, which I can just kind of pull or track here, lock it in, pull it away 10. And then I think I spaced this one away. This is my base. This is my one I want to space. Enter it. That looks pretty good. And was there anything else? Yeah, there's still one thing missing, and I haven't spaced these out. It's the size that I'm still lacking of the inner bore, and this is the place to put it, I think. So I moved this one away while I think I had placed it correctly. I need to make room for, and I guess I could have gone over here. Like I guess I could technically, if I didn't want to do what I just did and move that one away. I think I had spent the time to put that through 10 millimeter away. But what I need here is maybe a diameter size right here. And this would be okay. Like I could bring this in, 45 is but 45 degrees kind of gets into these extension lines. So I just broke the rule and brought that up like that. Sometimes when you have this going on, I could like clean this up and maybe put it kind of in alignment or stagger them. This looks good though. I just need to use this as a base here, base that one, or base anyway like that. Hey, that's not bad. And I might just pull this, I don't know, either direction where it's a little clear, stagger it up. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I could have put that over there too and popped the 40, but I've got a lot of room to work with dimensioning this way. But I think this kind of wraps up what I felt like was sized and located correctly you can see I definitely added considerable dimensions and even changed the way some of them were displayed from here. And that's the nature of these. Like, this is this is actually how you're given stuff a lot. Like, you might take a picture, you might be in a kind of in a meeting with an engineer, project manager, and you just like on a whiteboard trace what it looks like, and then add some dimensions of what it's going to be, and then you kind of maybe take a snapshot of that, go back to your desk and start working. It's going to be your job to do to dimension it correctly. It's not the engineer's job. That's what you're for. I mean, that's why your job is validated because this is your job. And your job is to get it nice, clean, clarified, take it back to the engineer, decide if he, they, she, any of them figure out what is missing and then add it and then go through the normal drafting check process, see, get some other eyeballs on it so nothing looks unclear to somebody else, or if there's confusion that, that's the nature of a checking too. They can be like, yeah, I don't love the way you've bundled this. Let's do this way. And so yeah, that feedback loop kind of happens, and then you send it off, and then you get additional feedback on the other end from downstream telling you maybe what was missed, that everybody missed. And that just happens. It's good. Makes teams better if they can do it in a respectful way, um, to where we don't, we got to communicate with each other. So if somebody wants to yell at me for having missing dimensions, well, it's just going to be, I'm not going to love it. I hope they're going to be, respectful like I would be to them. So anyway, that's it. This is how I dimension that. So I'm just going to take a look at it on my sheet. It doesn't look like I need to move it. It looks like it fits really good on the A4 size sheet. That's the smaller size sheet, right? A3 is going to work too. I think this one I could do either one. So either one is going to look, if I just control P that thing, is going to look pretty good. Maybe take a look at what the line types look like. If you have a big enough screen, like my sheets will always like show me the line types on the smaller size sheet. My monitor isn't quite big enough sometimes to make the line types pop when I check that here on the larger size sheet. On my home monitor, it does. I have a little bit bigger monitor, and it will give me a good representation of the line types like that. So that looks good, clean, well defined, size and locations accounted for. Let's call it good and move on to the next one. Send this to production. I think